We are standing in Casino Park, Queens. And for this week, I actually originally wanted to do a video on things I do not like living in this city. Now, I have been making content for this channel for a little bit over a year, trying to show all the different amazing locations, not just in New York City itself, but also in the surrounding areas like Long Island or Westchester, for example. But just to present the city from a different perspective than your typical Empire State Building or the Statue of Liberty, places New York is known for. But the city has a lot to offer and there are truly amazing places to visit. But that does not mean that this city is perfect in every way. I think that would be madness to say so. There are certainly many things about the city that I do not like, and so that was supposed to be the video for this week. However, as I was going over all the material that I have collected, I realized that this video would not only be long, but also very messy with a lot of things thrown in. So I decided to split up the video into two parts. This week, I would like to show you just some of the weird or the quirky things around the city, and then for my video for next week, it will be about things I do not like about the city. So I hope you enjoy, and remember, it's all for fun and entertainment, and certainly in two short videos, I will not be able to talk about everything, so maybe in the future, I can make more videos like these. So why am I in Casino Park? Well, because here we have our first quirk about the city, a velodrome. This is the only velodrome in New York City. In fact, Long Island doesn't have a velodrome, nor Westchester. Again, unless there is some indoor one that I don't know about, but I don't think so. Which makes this one so much more special and unique. A velodrome is essentially used for bicycle racing. It used to be a very popular sport like in the 1890s and early 1900s. I mean, they even experimented a lot with bicycles in the military. For instance, going into World War I, many countries had bicycle units as an alternative to horses. I remember a few years back, I was here on my bicycle, but it's just not the same. You really need a track bike. I mean, even take a look at the banks, the curves. They are pretty steep. Here, we are standing on top of the bank. And here, we are at the bottom. So it's quite a difference in elevation, which makes it a little bit difficult to do this on a regular bicycle. Okay, now we go to our second weird and quirky location in Corona Park. I made a video last week about the Queens Museum and the World's Fair. There it is in the distance. But if we take a step to the right, we will arrive at a recent addition to the park, a path created for retired New York City playground animals. So that's pretty quirky. I mean, I will include it in my list. So essentially, many New York playgrounds have animal sculptures, such as these, and as more parks are being modernized and renovated, I guess the city chose this spot to place them here instead of destroying them. I think that is pretty interesting. So currently, there are 6 animals. We have 2 dolphins, an elephant, a camel, a frog, and an aardvark. So if you grew up in New York City, maybe one of these animals came from the playground that you used to play at. We will see what other playground animals will be added to this location in the future. But certainly an unusual spot, right? I mean, kind of interesting. I do not know which playgrounds these came from, but maybe someone watching this video might recognize them. There is a playground not really that far away from me, which has horses. So if the city ever renovates that playground, which honestly would not be a bad idea, but if the horses go into retirement and are placed here, then I will know exactly which playground they came from. Another interesting stop, also in Queens, will take us to the neighborhood of Jackson Heights. Maybe some of you played the game of Scrabble before, where you have tiles with letters and each letter has a point value and you need to arrange them into words. Well, this game was invented by Alfred Butts in the 1930s, so during the Great Depression, right here in Jackson Heights in Queens, where he was a resident. He was perfecting it and playing with his friends and community here in the United Methodist Church. And if you look up at the street signs, you see 35th Avenue spelled out with the point values from the game. Again, kind of cool and quirky, and I'm sure that even many New Yorkers pass by this sign without realizing the significance of this church building and the corner. But now, you know. For our fourth stop, we will still stay in Queens, only move over to the neighborhood of Woodside. We're almost in the middle of a very busy street called Queens Boulevard. There is another weird thing to point out. Right here, we have a marker which states that this location here is the center of New York City. We have compass directions, and I'm pretty sure the numbers 5 and 8 stand for the street, as we are on Queens Boulevard and 58th Street. But here's the problem. This is certainly not the center of New York City. So if it's not the center, it leads us into some questions. Why is it here? And who put it here? And the answer is, I don't know. I actually stumbled upon this the first time I moved into Queens. And I know like maybe 3 years ago or something like that, I actually became so curious to the point that I did a lot of Google search on this. And no one is really sure how it got here, when, or even who is responsible for it. So maybe in the last few months there is some new information online that has an answer. Again, I really didn't check, but I know that when I tried to find out, just out of curiosity a while back, there was no simple answer for this. There were some speculations of who and why, but at the end of the day, there was no clear, certain answer. A mystery in Queens. And you know, that is why I love this city. That no matter how much you think you know, you don't. There are things that will still surprise you no matter where you look. And so I love to walk around because not only does it kind of loosen me up after lectures and grading, but also gives me at least some form of exercise. And so if you walk around, you will always come across something interesting. Whether a street being torn up to replace some pipes, and so you get a glimpse at the extensive network of pipes and wires, cables, which run under your feet to keep the city moving. Or looking up and not just admiring the buildings you see, but also the people who do the jobs like this, repairing and cleaning while dangling on 2 cables. Not for $1 million would I have the courage to do that. But what I can do is go on top of a lower building and enjoy the time like this person is doing right here. He knows the good life. You know, before the 1970s or so, many New Yorkers would go on their roofs to enjoy themselves in the sun. The nickname for these were tar beaches. So this was very common a few years back. But these are just some of the interesting sights and places you will see around the city. Why is there a huge pile of cans rolling down the sidewalk like a boulder? Well, that is a big business in the city, collecting these cans at 5 cents deposit. It can really truly add up, but it's a lot of hard work to do so. Or sometimes you might wonder, why is there so much traffic? Well, that is because the crossing guard is having fun and the cars can't decide if they should go or stop. But speaking about cars and driving in the city, you will be stuck in traffic behind other cars, which always provides you with endless reading material through the bumper stickers and like this bus, which says the vehicle does not. Now, this might seem innocent, but if you are stuck for 20 minutes in traffic behind a vehicle like this one, it begins to grow on you. You feel like asking the driver, what does this vehicle not do? Pick up children from school? Stop for police? I mean, after a while, you really become entertained by the different things you can think of writing in that label. I know. But it's one way to spend your time in traffic. What about something like this? Again, after 20 minutes, it begins to bother you. Why every letter is capitalized, but the two N's in the word installation are not? Is it on purpose? Is it by accident? You really begin to have legitimate questions here. And again, being a professor, I see that spelling is really something that is becoming an issue with many people. Like this restaurant here, for example, restroom for customer only. Now, who is this lucky customer? Of all the people living in the city, only this one customer gets to use the restroom here? Again, I have questions. But one letter makes a big difference, because it should be customers. You think a simple spelling mistake like this is unique? It's not. Can anyone tell me what kind of a salad this is? Now, I did have before a Egyptian salad, but that would require to have the letter Y placed here. Maybe it's the problem with our school system, because you really notice this with kids as well. On this playground, for example, some kid wrote to put your tongue in there. And yeah, sure, I was curious, I wanted to try, but I was not sure what a tongue is. Maybe they meant a tongue? I wonder what their score on a vocabulary quiz is. But it's things like this that keep me entertained. Not to mention that in some places in the city, the parking instructions are so confusing, I sometimes feel like I need to bring my lawyer to make sure I can park my car. Like, take a look at here, at this piece of art. Tell me you wouldn't stare at this for at least few minutes, making sure that you parked correctly. So no matter where you go in the city, there's always something interesting or weird to see. And I hope you enjoyed some of these things that I pointed out. And remember to come back next week, as I will continue by showing you things that I really do not like about this city. Until then, bye-bye.